This is HBR News number 528. Elon turns the lights on at X. Hussy Smollett caught in a hoax, where we discuss the news of the week and give it the Badger treatment. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. I hope you guys are doing well this week and that you're laughing at all of this absurdity so that you are not consumed by it. I'm your host, Brian. I'm joined by, as always, my lovely co-hosts, Hannah Wallen and Dr. Randombercam.
Hello, 2009, United Kingdom, 2 name changes.
What?
the Twitter thing.
Oh, it's a Twitter thing.
With the new information we're getting.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I totally dropped the ball on that. Well, with that said, I forgot to put the Discord up here. So we have a great show lineup for you guys today, so please be sure to continue the conversations both in the chat as well as the comment section. On this week's HBR News show, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be looking at a rare Republican hate crime hoax, but there is a common element to that I thought would be worth talking about. Online influencers unmasked as foreign agents, and more. So stick around. It's going to be a good time. And be sure to join us afterwards for the Patron only show. So Bill Ackman is about to fix the dating crisis. He basically has a very straightforward line for young men to meet women, and the memes erupted. So I'm not going to give anything away at this time. I'm not going to bury the lead on this. But if you are wondering how he's fixed everything, we're going to be talking about it in the Patron show. So please consider joining us as a patron. Become a Badger by going to feedthebadger.com/subscribe. $5 a month will get you into the Discord server where you'll be able to watch all of the additional content like our Patron shows. There are different levels with different kinds of access, and we have lots of activities, and people have movie nights, game nights. They do little workshops, all kinds of stuff's going on the Discord. So please consider joining us there if you would be so inclined, if it's something that would tickle your fancy or whatever. And if you don't want to wake up one morning to find that our content has been yeeted from the internet, then go to where it's archived. That is at badgerfeed.com or honeybadgerradio.com. That is where our content lives. And if you want to send us a message at any point during the show, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/just-a-tip, or you can use Rumble rants or super chats as well. But we prefer that you use the direct method because, YouTube takes almost half of whatever you give for the super chats, and I don't know if you want to give money to Google. Maybe you don't like them. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I mean, they're a necessary evil right now, but I'm not a fan. If I can avoid giving them money, I'll do that. So please consider that. And with all that out of the way, one last thing I'll say is, because I got to get in the habit of doing this, I'm going to ask you guys to please hit like, because liking the stream, I think it nudges the algorithm ever so slightly so that random people might see our content. So please consider doing that. I already have 2 people in the special chat. What we want to do is make the special chat blow up, and liking the stream helps. Maybe you can just go over to the special chat, give it a like, and come back to the horizontal chat for the for the regular folks. So that's a thing to consider. But anyway, with all of that said, we're going to get into today's stories. So first up, there was a cartoon that I saw online. I can't find it right now, but it was very funny. I think it's SDK Cartoons, but I'm not sure that's the name of the artist about this. But I'll just have to display Elon Musk for now. So after a Twitter/X developer alluded that an update in the near future would show the country of origin for all Twitter/X accounts, we're still undecided on whether or not we're going to call it X or Twitter. The update finally dropped. As promised, the update allowed all to see where an account originated from, and one thing became shockingly clear. Many accounts turned out to be Indians, masquerading as anything other than Indians. Pro-conservative accounts, pro-democrat accounts, accounts claiming to belong to the IDF, and even accounts connected to the Manosphere were shown to be operated by Indians or similar foreign influences. Nikita Bier, Twitter's ex-head of product, reports that after the update, this location information is 99% accurate, and some of these accounts have tens or even hundreds of thousands of followers, leading some to suspect that they exist to engagement farm and help funnel money to their foreign operators. Because remember, when Elon Musk made it to where Twitter could be monetized, which means if your posts get enough engagement, you could make a little money. And that means that there were definitely like opportunities that were being seized by some people who were basically engagement farming. But anyway, so some of these accounts have tens or even hundreds of thousands of followers, leading some to suspect that they exist to engagement farm and help funnel money to their foreign operators. Darren Lineal of Clemson University, who specializes in media forensics, states, quote, there are accounts that are run by troll farms, that are run by nation states, and then there are accounts that are just trying to make a buck by pretending to be American. There is always some money to be made from fanning America's culture wars on social media. He also predicts that their exposure will do little to stop them, stating, quote, bad actors will very likely quickly adapt. They can round it by VPN. They'll adopt the way that they're creating their account so it appears they created their account in the West or in the United States, end quote. Earlier this year, it was estimated that over 400 million Indians use VPNs, making India the #1 country in VPN adoption, dwarfing China's VPN usage, which is about 320 million. So more than China. And I wanted to add too, so if you're on X and you happen to cross any Manosphere people posting, just like how you usually a red flag as whether or not it's a engagement farming account is that it's got like a hyper masculine character and it's like super like over the top high testosterone posting. So
be aware.
It's like
also
T posing, but it's T posting. It's testosterone posting. That's usually how you know it's fake because like we all know that the manliest people on Earth are the Indian men. But anyway, that's
be
my,
aware. Also, there's another issue. There are dating coaches and pickup artists, which aren't necessarily the same as dating coaches. That they stole the red pill meme from the red pill subreddit, which was actually more of a conservative MRA subreddit, and they pretty much will claim to be the real MRAs. Then also, don't assume that somebody's not a real MRA just because their account is based in India, because Save Indian Family Foundation is a men's rights activist group in India that exists because India's domestic violence law is worse than the domestic violence laws in every Western country. Feminism hit India like a dirty bomb, and it's to the point where if a woman files against her husband under this law, she can file against his whole family. And there have been instances where infants who could not possibly have harassed anyone for any reason are put in jail for a short period of time because they're named or because they're with a woman who was named in the filing. So just because somebody is from India doesn't mean they're not an MRA. But
of course,
you do definitely need to watch out for like the hyper, the guys that respond to feminist anti-ruggedness crusade by acting as though ruggedness is the only way to be a man.
Sure.
Yeah. Somehow we always knew that the dead internet theory was inevitable, but we knew it would happen gradually. Like one day there will be more bots than human beings, if it hasn't happened already. But before that, it was predictable enough that there would be more scammers than sincere human beings, one way or another. And if you know anything about scammers, you could have easily predicted where they would come from. India and Nigeria, yes, but you can trace this evolution through other graphs. Like India has Bollywood, Nigeria has Nollywood, and these industries are both modeled after Hollywood, which itself has been using its fictitious siren songs to lure people onto the rocks for over a century now, as they convolutedly play the role of important political pioneers when all they were ever doing was following whatever trend will make them a buck or two. And in a way, you've got to respect the hustle. As they say, don't work hard, work smart. Why break your back going to a shitty job every day when you can just sit in front of a computer and fill some kind of narrative niche? Believe me, I'm not judging. Bless this world for giving us this opportunity. To be honest, as long as they're not doing the do not redeem thing, as long as they're not cold calling all these technophobic boomers and lying to them in person and terrifying them into sending them thousands of dollars, that's at least a step in the right direction. The fuckers who do that should be strung the fuck up. Not necessarily hanged or thrown into the wood chipper, just, strung up by their feet above the wood chipper, perhaps, with a flimsy rope. But yeah, they deserve severe punishment. They deserve to feel the terror through which they put innocent people. It's not just the digital equivalent of putting your hand in the till or pickpocketing someone. It's the digital equivalent of armed robbery. It's as close as you can get to it using a computer from 6,000 miles away. So I'm glad that some of them have found a grift that's a lot less egregious than that shit. If you just want to pretend to be American to appeal to an American audience, that's, not quite fine, but it's pretty close to fine. If you're advocating for America first policies and you're criticizing the enemies of such policies, well, what the fuck is the problem? I do that too. And Americans
join us.
Send me money for my efforts, knowing full well that I'm not American. I mean, it is different on Twitter because you can hide your face and your accent, but where the hell did Twitter accounts get their money? Next to nobody pays people on Patreon or PayPal just for their tweets. I mean, I'm sure there are some surely, but for the most part, they make their money from Twitter itself through engagement, and only if they're really popular. And in order to get really popular, they have to fight the good fight really hard on behalf of America. They only take these jobs from Americans if they do those jobs better than Americans. And they don't need H-1Bs to do it. I mean, for fuck's sake, they're fighting in your corner, and they're doing it without occupying your streets and shitting in the mailboxes and sexually harassing the teenagers. And that's a win-win, isn't it? And as for the manosphere types, the Indians getting in on the red pill scene and whatnot, well, yeah, Indians do that too. Like Hannah explained just now, there's a pretty prominent men's rights movement in India because they have an out of control feminist problem, just like we have over here. So they go online and they give their advice to men on how to deal with the whole debacle, just like we do. A lot of them we just assumed to be English or American because they're communicating in English. But they speak English, like 200 million of them. It's one of the official languages of India. So a lot of them aren't even pretending to be of the Anglosphere. Then even if they are, again, what's the problem? They're on our side. They're talking sense. At least they're talking as much sense as we do. They have just as many over-the-top cringe lords as we have in our own homegrown red pill community. It's like the meme, the haha, the joke's on you, I was just pretending to be retarded. It's haha, the joke's on you, I was just pretending to criticize feminism. I was just pretending to give a shit about men for money. Okay, well, that's a damn sight better than the people who pretend to give a shit about women for money. They're called feminists. They're doing it in our education system and our mass media and our police forces and our fucking armed forces of this one. They are the ones destroying our civilization. Thank you very much for joining us in the fight against them. Here, have some fucking money from my own pocket. We're already forced to pay feminists with our taxes. We might as well pay you to offset that shit in whatever way you can. And if all you're doing is getting engagement money from Twitter, from the engagement you pull in, once again, that's a win-win. We're getting this service for free, especially if we're not paying Twitter $8 a month, which I'm not. I'm just saying, a lot of people are overreacting with this, as though being on Twitter and not being American is a gotcha by itself. Yeah, no, some of us never pretended to be American. We just, believe it or not, we don't hate your country. We're quite fond of Americans, and we want you to put yourselves first. Some of us think every nation should put themselves first, because there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Of course, if there are accounts saying shit like, "Dear fellow white people, we all need to shut the fuck up and listen to non-white people," and they turn out to be non-white, that's a very different story. That's literally a psyop. Just like if there are people saying, "How do you do, fellow Americans? We need to support Israel," and they turn out to be Israeli, by all means, nail that shit to the wall. That's where you should be focusing your ire, just as an example. And conversely, if, like me, you frequently criticize Jews and you frequently criticize Muslims, yet you get some mewling dickhead nagging at you as though you never criticize the Jews, you now have an extra avenue to be able to say, "Nice try, Mohammed. I see you. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and you're not going to tilt the ratio. You're all getting the same amount of bacon thrown at you, so help me God." And one more thing in closing. This revelation is also an excellent development, because it means young, impulsive men on our side are a lot less likely to get catfished by fat grifters in the West pretending to be helpless desert girls in Qatar or whatever. It could spare us a lot of hassle. Might have even saved a few friendships over the years, but whatever. If you fail the naivety test, you get what you fucking deserve. I hope one day you can prove yourself redeemable when you crawl with your tail between your legs back to those of us who have proved ourselves to be real people. There will be vanishingly few of us as time marches on and the internet becomes a graveyard of AI zombies. Best of luck, everyone, and Godspeed.
Did y'all see that the Homeland Security account came up as
Israel? Yeah.
Israel. Right.
Yeah, I saw that, but then like the woman who originally like called a Nikita Bier,
yeah,
she said that is incorrect. She corrected that record, and that it's always been American. Let me see if I can find where she says it.
And I'm sure we're being told that, but it did originally show.
I know. I heard that. I'm not denying. I'm just saying that
it's possible that it was.
It may not be that clear cut. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, It's possible that it was started by somebody that was in Israel at the time.
Yeah,
that is actually because
So apparently
there's a division of Homeland Security that actually does things in Israel, and our cybersecurity guys are involved in that, and I can just see some dumbass like higher up going, "You're like a nerdy geeky guy. Why don't you start the Twitter account?"
Yeah,
but it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, so Nikita Bier said that location. She said this is fake news. Location is not available on any gray check account at any point. So I guess there are gray checks.
And then, gray checks are government. But
she said, furthermore, the DHS has only shown IPs from the United States since account creation. That's I don't mean that's what she said about it. So maybe she's lying, but she's the one who originally broke the story as well, or at least like talked about this. So I don't know.
Yeah, she may have been intimidated into taking it back. But it's still
So
kind of an
there was actually a
interesting.
video. So so let me explain what happened. I'm going to show you guys. So this is an account by iHypocrite. And he's all about the Jews. Like he loves talking about them. So he was ready to jump on this, and he said the official DHS account was revealed to have been created in Israel. I saw a screenshot of this and I assumed it was a joke, but apparently it's real and confirmed by Grok. The geolocating features were disabled shortly after going live, and he has like a video. I'm gonna not play any of the audio of them like clicking on it so you can see it right here. And then so we saw that, and then here he said it's also worth noting that it was revealed to be operating out of Israel as well. And then he saw Nikita Bear's response and says, Nikita Bear says it's fake news. I've also seen a video from someone demonstrating how to fake it. Looks like I got tricked. Sorry, everyone. Steve Urkel.jpg. So all I'm saying is that it's looking like it's fake. So let's not, get too excited, John Doe, if you're watching. Don't get too excited because we don't know this for sure, okay? Just chill out. And I'd rather, err on the side of if the person who was originally completely in support of all these things being revealed then says, well, no, that's not true. I'm inclined to agree. Now, if something changes, it changes. And look, the Department of Homeland Security probably has, it likely has connections with all kinds of other countries. So it wouldn't even be that crazy if it was true.
If it did
really
show, yeah, that's why I was saying, like, if they're scrambling to like deny it, that actually makes it worse for me, because several government departments have activity in other countries. It's not just that one. So
I hear you. Anyway, so the other thing I was gonna say about it is I think it's a good thing to have this kind of transparency. The only thing overall I think it's good that we can see this. I actually meant to look to see if I'm properly represented. Like I know my account should be. I have a blue check. Yeah, Virginia, USA. So yeah, so mine is right. So maybe check yours, see if there's an error, because I don't know how precise these things are.
Mine doesn't show my state. Like I'm.
Do you have a blue check?
Or at least it didn't when I looked before. But it didn't show my state. But it shows that I'm from the U.S. I was very disappointed actually when that I discovered as I was going through and looking at some of the people that I interact with the most that it's not all Ohio. Everything is not Ohio. I was misinformed by the meme lords that it's all Ohio and it always has been. And apparently there are places that are not Ohio. I'm upset.
Like I said at the top of the show, I'm pure as the driven snow. I'm United Kingdom. I've been that way since 2009, which I think is before Elon. Maybe I've been here for more than most people, and I've never been suspended or fucking expelled, despite all the mad shit I've said over the years. I've been here with the same fucking account for 16 years.
Same.
Yeah,
I'm too lazy to mess with that.
My account, I think I started my account in 2009, around the same time I had my first Reddit account. Maybe a little bit earlier, but I've never been like suspended, but I've been locked a few times.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, the only thing I guess I would have like some concerns with is that like I guess I just prefer authenticity over people just trying to sort of like take advantage of these things, even because it's not, they're not just posting like pro America and like pro men's rights stuff. They're like playing both sides. So you're getting like, it's almost like a lot of the fighting online might just be noise. created by engagement farmers, and then there are people with real accounts and real places that are also engaging in engagement farming, like Ian Miles Chong, Tim Pool. You know, they that guy with that Korean guy with the really, or is he Korean? I think, with the super high IQ. He's always like, I am the highest IQ in the world, and he makes posts all the time, starting with I am the highest IQ. You know, or that girl who's a paleontologist with an OnlyFans. Like, it's just kind of like, it just crowds the feed with garbage. And I guess that's my only issue, and it's kind of just a nitpick more than anything, because that's like complaining that the sky is blue, you know? But yeah, otherwise, like, I'm glad that we have this transparency. So, all right, the highest IQ Korean grift. Yeah. And he still says it. Even though I think he's been debunked. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next story. Let us know what you guys...
About measuring, the tough thing about measuring IQ is that when you take an IQ test, there are factors that don't have anything to do with how intelligent you are that influence it.
Yeah.
Like, my best score on an IQ test versus my worst score on an IQ test, like, makes me wonder. We'll just say that my best score on an IQ test, I could have gone to Harvard or Yale and wowed everybody. My worst score on an IQ test, I could have been institutionalized for it. But it was, I was having an incredibly bad day, and couldn't focus at all on the test, and therefore it came out really bad. But I mean, people's can vary, quite significantly based on things like that. So it is kind of hard to compare. It doesn't mean that somebody that's had a high IQ test score doesn't have a high IQ, but it does make it difficult to compare your score to other people and say, I'm smarter than you. No, I'm smarter than you, because you don't know that. You don't know how they were doing the day they took the test.
But if you score really low on the IQ test, then they won't convict you for your violent crimes. They'll just go, oh, you're too stupid to face trial. So go off and live your life on the streets.
So if I were
when you answer these IQ tests, you can say whatever the fuck you like. You go, I have no idea how to rotate a shape in my mind. What is this? It seems like a stupid way to fucking run things, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess if I ever get falsely accused of a violent crime, that's what I'll do. I'll just be retarded for a day.
Yeah. All right. So I got some super chats, and I'm gonna move on to the next thing. So Richard Beer gives us $5. Thank you, Richard. And he says, imagine what India would look like if there was as much effort put towards installing toilets and sewage systems as is put into scamming and online impersonation.
The British Empire did its best, by the way. I don't want to say we. I don't want to say we, because I'm not the British Empire. But the British Empire did its best to fucking civilize those people. Just saying. They kicked us out after a few decades, and we're like, no, fuck you. And I'm like, oh, fine. Do as you will, India. Fucking create Pakistan and Bangladesh while you're at it. Jesus.
I was gonna say, I thought there, because like, like we have Indian MRAs that come to ICMIs and stuff, and I think that it's a cultural thing, because they have a caste system, and I think what we see is usually the people of the lower caste. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't pretend to be an expert at all. I just think it's like a stark contrast, from like knowing them and seeing them in person and even having some friends, and then like the people that are like over there off the boat, So, I don't know.
The people that are the people that are trying to escape any given country are going to be the ones that are the most downtrodden there. And then the people that network between other countries for any purpose, like business or activism and stuff like that, to take information back to their country, are usually the ones that are hardworking, not necessarily, because I don't like to think of people as good people and bad people, but people with a better work ethic and a better sense of responsibility for their communities. And so what we see in the men's rights movement when we work with MRAs from other country are almost always the latter. They're almost always people that are attempting to do work for their communities and their nations. So they're almost always people who are higher caliber of individual. Whereas when you see the people that like immigrate illegally, or people who try to make themselves out to be refugees, you get a mixed bag. Some people are that high caliber that are just unable to have success in their country. But you also get the people that have gotten themselves into trouble in their country and need to get out. And so that's why you end up with that mess.
Yeah. All right, Nobafan gives us a Rumble rant for $1 and says, "But Brian, the government lied to me once, so now I need to assume everything else they say is a lie, including the government's claim that the Earth is round. Yes, they actually use that on me." That's what a lot of flat earthers believe. The government is lying to us about the Earth. So that's how you get there, I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
They're not lying about it being round, but they are lying about
being flat.
Several things in regard to the Earth. No, but they are lying about the reasons behind climate change, for instance.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I don't recall the government ever telling me that the Earth is round. That doesn't seem to be one of their concerns.
It's not up on the list.
Like you say, they do keep telling me that if we give them money, they will change the weather.
Yeah. Yep. Which, that they already do cloud seeding, and they're already putting chemicals in the air. Not to say that I necessarily know anything about chemtrails, or like there's a lot of other ways that they're putting chemicals into the air. But even the stuff that we're doing commerce wise, global warming and global cooling are things that occur naturally over and over again, and have done so throughout the existence of this planet, sometimes to great extremes, and even causing extinction events. And it's kind of silly to look at the temperatures from a very short stretch of world history, and like the blink of an eye in terms of geological history, and say that it's definitive proof, undeniable definitive proof, that stuff coming out of the smokestacks in factories and stuff is the cause of this type of change. Just saying.
Yeah. Okay, next super chow. Meredith G gives us $5, and I think she gave to the fundraiser. Thank you, Meredith. Appreciate it. And says, HBR News number 528, Honey for the Badger. Seems to me if someone at X was calling DHS location as Israel, someone may be having some fun with the location feature. So like a prank, kind of. I mean, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there is what High Hypocrite has discovered, according to the refutation by the person Nikita Bier, is that it can be like artificially crafted, like you make a video to make it look like that's there, but the only mistake was it was in gray instead of like the way it's supposed to look, I guess, and the that then he figured out it was fake, so that there is a way to do it, and obviously whoever did it was doing it, to basically like play a prank, get everybody worked up. So but anyway, thank you for.
I was kind of hoping it was true just because it would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be funny. Well, I think a lot of people were laughing, but yeah.
I'm willing to entertain the possibility that Israel is fucking us all, and I'm willing to entertain the possibility that it isn't. Are you all happy? Are you all gonna fucking bitch at me for not saying either of the things I just said? Whatever.
Or saying both of the things that you said?
Yeah, yeah, that makes it even worse.
Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. I got to move on to the next story. Okay, so Natalie Green, who I'm going to call Hussy Smollett, a 26-year-old Reuters law school student and former part-time staff assistant to U.S. Representative Jeff Van Drew, which is the Republican representative of New Jersey, has been charged federally with conspiracy to convey false statements and hoaxes, as well as making false statements to law enforcement following an alleged staged attack on July 23, 2025. According to the criminal complaint, Green and an unnamed female co-conspirator fabricated a violent assault at the Egg Harbor Township Nature Reserve in New Jersey, where the co-conspirator called 911 around 10:30 p.m., claiming 3 masked men with guns had ambushed them while walking a trail, threatened to shoot them, and specifically referenced Green's employment with a federal official. Remember, she's a part-time staff assistant, former. So just remember that, okay? Not high in the totem pole. Not really high in the totem pole. Anyway, police arrived to find Green in a wooded area off the trail, her shirt pulled over her head and secured with a zip tie, her hands and feet bound with black zip ties, and dozens of lacerations on her face, neck, upper chest, and shoulders, inflicted with a scalpel-like tool. Her body bore black marker writings, including Trump whore on her stomach, and federal official, like her name, I guess, is racist on her back, with Green screaming that one attacker had a gun. Investigations by local police and the FBI revealed the incident was a hoax, with phone records showing the co-conspirator searched zip ties near me on July 21st and purchased them at a Dollar General store. Matching black zip ties and duct tape were later found in Green's Maserati SUV. Maserati, expensive car, by the way. Further evidence indicated Green
had driven. 185?
Huh?
Does it do 185?
Yeah.
Has she lost her license? Now she can't drive.
Further evidence indicated Green had driven to a Pennsylvania body modification and scarification artist studio on July 21st, providing a custom pattern and paying $500 in cash for the deliberate cuts, as confirmed by a receipt, signed waiver, and her New Jersey driver's license recovered from the studio. Inconsistencies emerged in Green's and her co-conspirators' accounts during interviews, including mismatched descriptions of the attackers and the sequence of events. Arrested on November 19, 2025, Green made her initial court appearance the next day, pleaded not guilty, and was released on a $200,000 unsecured bond with conditions. Her attorney, Louis Barbone, maintains her innocence and emphasizes her presumption under the law. Van Drew's office confirmed her employment had ended prior to the charges and expressed sadness while offering thoughts and prayers for her well-being. If convicted, Green faces up to 10 years in prison. And I just want to say, before you guys take over, if you wanted to be a victim and without spending all of that money and you getting scarred up and everything, just buy a MAGA hat and walk around New Jersey and wait.
Yeah, well,
you don't have to fake that.
About Dayton. People said that to me about Dayton because it's a city, it's a blue, blah, blah, blah. And I've been here since 2006. And I suppose there are parts of Dayton I could go into, like the inner city, the poorer neighborhoods in the inner city where the only thing they get on TV is PBS and CNN. But most of the communities that I've gone into and done business and, shopped and whatever, no, you wouldn't, nobody would bother you. Nobody would care. They might not even notice that you were there. And I think that most of the time people don't notice each other in public places in bigger cities. And when you go into smaller communities, most of the people there are actually pro-Trump. So you got quite a bit of most of the rural areas are red. Most of the small town areas are red.
Sure.
Large portions of the blue cities are red. And if you actually zoom in on the cities in a map that shows who voted what way during that election, you get very small sections, very small precincts that vote blue. It's just that they're heavily populated, and it's the people that can't afford to live anywhere else live in those neighborhoods for the most part, or the people who are so wealthy that other people can't afford to live in their neighborhood. Those are the two. Like, everybody in between is either voting red or they don't care how you vote. And I don't think, for the most part, that there are very many places in the entire United States that somebody could go to be victimized for being a Republican or wearing a Trump hat or anything like that. I mean, like, people will, like, maybe steal your hat, or tell you off, and you can get a recording if you really want to and be famous on social media. But what she claims happened to her, I think you'd have to go to Portland to have that happen. Or, one of the counties that is exporting people all over the country to protest for money in neighborhoods where they don't live and destroy the shopping centers that they don't shop at and so on. None of that is likely to happen in a location where she would have been. What I really don't understand is what she thought she was going to accomplish, because this is not a movement that thrives on that kind of victimhood. Right? This kind of nobody would have been excited about this happening. Like, people would have been upset, but I don't think it would have changed the way that people thought about Trump or how they were going to vote or what their other political opinions were or what they did at any given moment during any day, besides maybe answer a tweet here and there about it. And I cannot believe that a woman who looks like that was starved for attention. So there has to be something really wrong with this woman, like seriously wrong. And I'm glad she's not working for a politician anymore, because somebody who would do something like this is dangerous. And the fact that she's maintaining her innocence, like, unless she comes out with some, dark horse evidence that, out of nowhere, it's proved that this really did happen to her. And I would be really, really skeptical if that was, the case. Like, this is a dangerous woman who tells dangerous lies, and I'm glad to see this is playing out with seriousness and everything. But I certainly hope that she's ordered into mental health care, and not just whatever punishment she gets, happens, but she can't get out of it. She can't get released from it when the time comes, unless she's completed some sort of mental health treatment on top of that, because normal people don't do this, right? Mentally healthy people don't do this. And I know that there are a lot of women who lie about experiencing a violent crime, or being, in particular, sexually violated or sexually harassed or followed, or any number of other things for specific reasons, covering for cheating on their boyfriend, mad at a guy that turned them down or cheated on them or something like that. Seeing if they can get money, because there are some places where victims do get paid out of a stipend for victims that have medical care needs and stuff like that. But just for the hell of it, without any goal to accomplish, that seems like a reasonable goal. Well, not very many women do that. There's always something vengeful going on, or something capitalistic, something not like normal capitalizing business, but exploitation of the public sympathy. It's like people who fundraise for cancer that they don't have. So this is disturbing, not in the same way as, say, a violent crime or anything like that, but it is disturbing. and I do hope that they follow through on this, and there are heavy penalties that she's not allowed to stop serving until she gets certified care.
Yeah, I mean, well, I meant Mike. I'm sure you wanted to say something about this. I apologize.
No, go on if you.
Well, all I'm gonna say is, obviously this is like not good to do, and I think it's I think it's not good for anyone to lie about these things. They're very serious. It wastes the money and resources and time of law enforcement investigating hoaxes like this. It doesn't matter who does it. I don't care what, like whatever. The truth is enough, and we already have it on our side. This actually does more harm to like the case that I would be making as somebody who is in favor of like the current administration over the alternative. So I don't really want that. This makes that harder, and it also feeds into the opposite. Like they use this stuff. But it's also interesting to point out, number one, this is a woman doing it, a young one who, as far as I know, she was only 26. So yeah, very young woman. There's an opportunity for her to make some, get some attention, and she used it. And yet, it didn't get the same kind of media attention that Jussie Smollett did. And I mean, Jussie Smollett's like the best, like opposite. Now, maybe it's because he's a celebrity. I'm sure that helps. But he got in front of cameras. He sat down on 60 Minutes or whatever it was. He was able to make his case. Everyone believed it. It took like a while for that to be debunked. This, on the other hand, when it happened, people were like, nah, that probably didn't. That's not how that goes. Because even though there have been assassinations, of a couple of people, not just Charlie Kirk, but there was that guy in, I think it was in Portland, that was part of that, like Patriot Prayer, I think. And he was murdered by Antifa, or someone who was supposed to be an Antifa member. And so we know that those things happen, but like not some random part-time, staff assistant, which is probably like, we're looking at one step above an internship for that position, most likely. That's not how that works. So it was suspicious. I'm glad nobody like really bought into it and went along with it, because it at least tells us that some cases of women trying to like make themselves into a victim of a situation through a hoax, that doesn't always work out. But yeah, it is interesting that, it didn't get the same kind of, let's say, charity that Jussie Smollett's thing did, but I'm not really that surprised. So that's all I want to say. So Mike, you can go ahead.
Yeah. I miss the good old days when all we did was cut ourselves without any accomplices, and it wasn't for political reasons. It was just good old fashioned teenage angst. And yes, I do speak to this from the first person. I went through that phase when I was 18. It's something I haven't brought up in public since like 10 years ago when I did my Miley Stewart response. I mentioned it to compare it with the trans issue, how it has parallels with this new kind of self-elected mutilation. I know we like to paint the 90s as though it was the best time to live, especially as a teenager, but it wasn't, ladies and gentlemen. The cracks were already showing. The 90s was when teenagers really got into the habit of taking razor blades to their arms. This was before emo was a thing, but it seems obvious that it was part of the phenomenon that led to emo being a thing. Yes, to some degree, it was a social contagion. Along the lines of, did you know you could take a razor blade and cut ribbons into your forearms and even stub cigarettes out on those same forearms? And it can offer you some kind of release, a physical release from the emotional pain that you're feeling. Just to be clear, it doesn't whatsoever. It was only ever a cry for help. even for those of us who made every effort to hide it. We did it behind closed doors, and we kept our sleeves rolled down lest anyone see it. We did it because we wanted to cry for help without anyone hearing our cries. It sounds like it doesn't make sense, but it's like writing gloomy poetry that you don't want anyone to read ever. It's like primal scream therapy. It's not important that people hear it. It's important that you just scream it, indeed, into the void. But screaming doesn't leave scars. Poetry doesn't leave scars. At all points, you should ask yourself, when has it gone too far? And yeah, when it leaves permanent scars is when it's gone too far. And it was bad enough in the 90s when this typical and inevitable teenage angst collided headlong with the wholly unnecessary and avoidable social contagion of self-mutilation. If only we could have predicted how much worse it would get in the 21st century. Nowadays, young people aren't just quietly indulging in masochism for private, personal reasons. They're orchestrating sadomasochism for political reasons. I think that's what we're looking at in stories like this. Not Hussy Smollett. Hussy Smollett didn't actually sustain any real injuries. It was just a hoax, just a theatrical shower of crocodile tears. But there are people who are actually willing to sustain scars for the sake of political struggles that are entirely misguided and misapplied. I think it's driven by a tragic cry for help, the same tragic cry for help that corrupted us in the 90s, but it's only exacerbated and indeed encouraged, drawn out even further by this sick appropriation by political forces. It was bad enough when it was just a social contagion, but now it's spread like a cancer into a political contagion. In the 90s, it was just, you should scar yourself because you'll feel better, and that was bad enough. But now it's, you should scar yourself so we can undermine a president we don't like, or indeed uphold a president we don't like, or whatever the fuck it is. And in either case, yes, that is worse. Indescribably worse. It almost seems redundant now that it's already escalated even further. Now that we've had numerous stories of young men setting themselves on fire for the sake of freeing Palestine or whatever, not to mention that God knows how many young people have elected to have their genitals butterflied because they've been convinced that gender is an otherwise unfixable vector of oppression. But I don't know, I guess this story hit me harder than those stories did, because I've never set myself on fire. I've never cut off a body part altogether. And thank the stars, I only got as far as carving and burning simple geometric shapes into myself. And I stopped when I realized it wasn't achieving anything. To think we now live in a generation of young people who think it is achieving anything to do such things it's really quite disturbing. I would say shame on anyone who's encouraging this, but shame is not the answer. Shame is the problem. Shame is the addiction that everyone keeps reverting to, because it's one of those vices that people think is a virtue. We used to shame people for being different. Nowadays, we still shame people for being different, but we also shame people for being normal. Nowadays, you get shamed no matter what you do. And yet people still think shame is the solution. Everyone in the world could cut themselves into pieces and burn themselves out of shame, and people will still try to fix it by shaming everyone even more. I'm honestly impressed that we even made it this far as a species. What the flying fuck is wrong with everyone? Jesus wept. It's times like this I wish I could think of a joke to lighten the mood, but I cannot. Just imagine I said something funny, folks. You can do it. I believe in you, and I won't shame you for it.
All right. Well, let us know what you got. Oh, I'm sorry, Hannah. Were you going to say something? I thought I heard a voice. Well, let us know what you guys think about.
I was actually muted. So.
I guess that's impossible.
I suppose the one thing I could say is, if you're female and you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking you're just desperate for attention from conservatives or libertarians or ANCAPs or the men's rights movement or anybody that's not woke dipshits, this is the opposite of the way that you would get. Like, we share stuff when people do really cool things, like helping some homeless guy clean himself up and get a job, or teaching a kid how to fold the American flag because he didn't know what to do with it when he came into your yard and found it broken, the pole broken and the flag on the ground, or things like that. Do stuff like that. Teach somebody why they should be part of your political faction instead of being a woke dipshit. And, maybe we'll pay attention to you. But be careful, because if you do too much of that shit, then you do end up getting victimized like this. They'll shoot you.
Yeah. And with hoaxes are only going to get worse because, with AI. So we're just going to have to be very, very, very adamant. And, but yeah, just don't just, the old saying, believe none of what you hear and half of what you see. Well, we're going to have to step that up. Believe none of what you hear and none of what you see. Because it's going to get harder and harder to tell the truth. So
we are living in the era where the Running Man could easily happen.
Oh yeah. Well, way easier actually than the Running Man did it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But anyway, let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. We're going to move on to the next story. All right. So, on November 17, 2025, Bethany McGee, a 26-year-old business research analyst, a lot of young ladies in these stories today, and a lot of unfortunate incidents. 26-year-old business research analyst for Caterpillar, originally from Upland, Indiana, was the victim of a horrific unprovoked attack on a northbound Chicago Transit Authority Blue Line train near the Clark Lake Station in the Loop. I know exactly where that is, by the way, as a Chicagoan. According to federal prosecutors and surveillance footage, a 50-year-old Lawrence Reed, a Chicago resident with an extensive criminal history, including 72 arrests since age 18, so for basically 32 years, and recent charges for aggravated battery, approached McGee from behind as she sat alone at her phone. Reed, who had filled a bottle with gasoline at a nearby gas station just 20 minutes earlier, poured the accelerant over her head and body. McGee fought him off and fled toward the front of the train, but Reed chased her, ignited the bottle, and used the flaming container to set her ablaze. As flames engulfed her, McGee desperately rolled on the floor to extinguish them while Reed watched. No other passengers intervened until the train stopped, when she stumbled onto the platform, collapsed, and was aided by bystanders who helped put out the fire. Evidence recovered included a partially melted bottle, a lighter, and burned clothing remnants. Reed fled, but was arrested the next morning wearing the same clothes from the video and showing fire injuries on his hand. During transport, he repeatedly yelled phrases like "burn B" and "burn alive B," which we know what that stands for. I'm just reading it as it is described by the report. He faces federal charges of committing a terrorist attack or other violence against a mass transportation system, with a judge ordering him detained due to his danger to the community and a history of violating probation terms while on electronic monitoring for the prior battery charge. A mental health evaluation was also mandated after his erratic courtroom behavior. McGee, who graduated with a Bachelor's of Science from Purdue University's Polytechnic Institute, suffered severe burns over much of her body and remains in critical condition at Stroger's Hospital burn unit, where her family has expressed gratitude for the medical team's care while requesting privacy. Stroger Hospital is actually where I got my cancer treatment done too, by the way. Originally described as an animal lover, churchgoer, and close to her parents, Emily, and brothers Mark and John, based on her social media profiles, McGee has since been identified in online discussions as a supporter of Black Lives Matter. And with screenshots circulating of her past Facebook posts expressing solidarity with the movement. This was from 2020. She was probably 18 years old when this happened. Just pointing that out for context. So, this detail, amplified on platforms like X and forums, has sparked polarized commentary, with some users highlighting the irony given Reed's background and others decrying the lack of intervention or broader systemic issues in Chicago's public transit safety and criminal justice policies. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy publicly named McGee on social media, criticizing the city's carelessness in handling repeat offenders and calling for stricter measures. Her family statement emphasized appreciation for public support amid her ongoing recovery, underscoring the profound impact on her life and loved ones. And I just want to add a little bit more to this, because I think it's important to understand a few things. So I didn't just pick this because of the, I guess you could say, irony of her being a young woman supporting Black Lives Matter when things were going down in 2020. And then being a victim of a terrible crime, a violent crime against her, simply because she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. We don't know what the motive behind Reed's actions are, but it's sort of irrelevant because there's a couple things going on here. Number one, Chicago, or Cook County specifically, has they have a problem with this sort of catch and release policy in terms of how they deal with criminals. They have this act called the Safety Act, SAFE-T, which stands for Safety, Accountability, Fairness, and Equity Today Act, to sweeping 2021 criminal justice reform law. So this came out after the BLM stuff, okay? A response to it, likely put in place by Beetlejuice, the former mayor before Brandon Johnson. Went into effect on September 18th, fully in 2023. So this is while Brandon Johnson was in office, who, by the way, ran on defunding the police and essentially criminal justice reform, which I put in quotes, which really just means, what I'm about to read. Its most famous and controversial provision is the complete elimination of cash bail across the state, making Illinois the first state in the nation to do so. Instead of requiring defendants to post money to get out of jail while awaiting trial, the law creates a presumption that almost everyone is eligible for pretrial release unless prosecutors can prove in a detention hearing that the person poses a real and present threat to a specific individual or the community, or is a high flight risk. The law divides offenses into three categories. 1, non-detainable, mostly low-level crimes. 2, detainable only with strong evidence of danger or willful flight. And 3, automatically detainable murder, certain sex offenses, etc. Judges may impose conditions such as electronic monitoring, which were imposed on Reed, who ignored them, curfews, no contact orders, or home confinements. So this is criminal justice reform, ultimately. Now, one other thing I wanted to say regarding this Reed person is that this guy has been arrested, I think 72 times in Cook County, 15 times convicted, including 8 felonies. His offenses are various assaults, batteries, and arson, drug-related crimes, and property damage. And there's a whole rap sheet, very long. And the truth is that he should have been in jail when this happened. He broke his electronic sort of curfew or his limited movement anyway to end up in this situation. He obviously needed like help of some other way, but this guy's been in the system since he was 18 years old. So it's almost like some people can't be rehabilitated. And the criminal justice reforms that are being put through are usually headed up by this lady named Kim Fox, who it's basically like a feminine way of dealing with crime, which is to try to reform or rehabilitate or send social workers, and it just gets people hurt. And this 18-year-old girl that supported BLM, 26 years old now, but she was 26. It's the 2025. In 2020, she was 21. So pretty young, probably naive, probably felt like virtue signaling, whatever. She was definitely a pro BLM person. I don't think she is now, but I'm not saying that because I think it's funny. I just think that I don't know. It's like there needs to be realism, and there isn't. There's like, I don't know what it is. It's like a desire to, seem like a good person, maybe ignore the dangers around you, and then you put yourself in this situation. And she's not going to die, so I guess there's that, but she's going to be badly burned. So anyway,
she may come back out of the hospital wishing she had. That's going to be really rough because she's going to have horrible scars.
Yeah.
She's going to have pain for the rest of her life where those scars are.
Yeah.
As far as this guy, what we know is that he's been in the criminal justice system since he was 18. What we don't know is whether or not he was in the criminal justice system before he was 18. And based on his trajectory, I'm going to make a supposition, an educated guess, that his entry into the criminal justice system occurred prior to turning 18. And the reason we don't know is because rightfully minors' criminal records are sealed. You can't find out that information unless they've done something that they became famous for doing. And a lot of kids that go that route end up dead from what they've done. But the thing that bothers me about discussion of criminal justice reform is that people talk about it like you can just punish a psychopath or a sociopath into compliance. And the problem is that most of them, like, there's this stereotype, right, that sociopaths and psychopaths are geniuses that do horrible things and might rule the world if it wasn't for some benevolent person. Most of them are actually really, really not that bright. Borderline intellectually disabled quite frequently, in fact. And most of them have some sort of history of having been abused in some way that they have essentially learned that might make right, and they don't have the tools that you usually would use to get over that and accept that you live in a community with other people and they have just as much right to be there as you, and you don't have any more right to treat them like objects, toys, or targets for your frustration than they do to you. And the only way to keep the peace is that nobody does that, right? So you end up in a situation where, if you get somebody like this started in the criminal justice system, say as a preteen or a teenager, they go to juvie and they get beaten up by the other guys in juvie. They get recruited into a gang in juvie, and there's a pretty strong chance that they get sexually harassed, molested, or other somewhere in between, in there, other types of sexual misconduct committed against them by the female staff in fact, 95% of sexual misconduct by staff at juvenile facilities involves a woman. It's like 92% just a woman perpetrator, and then 3% more a male and a female, or 2 women, multiple perpetrators. And it's the majority of sexual misconduct reported by boys in juvenile detention. So recidivism starts in juvenile detention, when rather than actually trying to figure out, why did this boy commit the crime that landed him here? Is it because he's developing psychopathy or sociopathy, or has some other mental health condition that maybe is treatable, that maybe he can learn to fit in with society and be a productive citizen? Or is it because he's been, he's not mentally unwell, but is in some circumstance or another where this is how he's learned to behave, and trying to figure out how to reform those kids? They're in there getting raped and beaten and recruited into gangs and essentially roped into recidivism. And as soon as they turn 18, the prison system cares about them even less, and they'll either be warehoused or they'll be caught and released. But at no point in the prison system does anybody consider, just teaching people at the childhood age, when they first start getting into trouble, a better way, or improving their life circumstances. Like maybe they're in an abusive home and you need to get them out of that home. When they get released, if they're in a gang in a poor neighborhood, something like, they get sent back into the same damn environment. So when they're young, when there's maybe a chance of ending their career as a criminal and starting them on a career as a regular citizen that does some sort of job and pays their rent and interacts peacefully with other people, they don't get the benefit of the education they need. They don't get the treatment they need. And they do get treated like just objects in a warehouse. And that's if the prison system is being nice to them, because there's a lot worse. And it's you might as well just lock people up the first time that they get arrested and never let them back out if you're going to do that. There's the idea that putting someone in a cell for so many months or so many weeks or so many years cures them of whatever behavioral tendencies existed in them that caused them to commit the crime that got them arrested and put them there. It's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Go sit over here, go sit in a cell, go hang out with these other criminals, go spend your time surrounded by people who did things just as stupid and wrong as what you did, with very little help in bettering yourself. Maybe you can take some classes. Maybe they have some kind of program that addresses the surface issues. But for the most part, very little help. No serious effort at rehabilitation. And by the way, we'll see you in another 6 months after you get out, because we know you're going to do it again. If we did that with other stupid human behavior, like hospitals sabotaged patients' ability to live a healthy lifestyle so that they had a guaranteed repeat customer coming in, for instance. People get mad when they find out that that's happened, right? People get mad when they learn that a particular form of treatment is actually causing health problems instead of curing them. People get mad when they find out that a particular medicine or other substance that you're being asked to put into your body is doing damage instead of healing you. People file lawsuits for malpractice and multiple other things, right? People people file lawsuits even when the medical community didn't know that what they were doing was going to have that effect. Even when it was the only thing available. And when something better comes along, they sue. The hospital doesn't even have to be in the wrong. When they are in the wrong, you get big class action lawsuits, right? So outrage over it when the medical profession does that is huge. Widespread, pretty much universal, has resulted in an entire faction of the legal services and an entire area of law. The prison system, nobody cares, right? Nobody's like, oh gosh, these poor guys, because they're criminals, so everybody hates them. Yeah. Nobody considers the idea that creating a population of human beings who are so dysfunctional that they, once they're released from human storage, basically, they're going to do something that's going to get them put back in there over and over again. So the prison can be paid by the state to continue to warehouse them. Why aren't people upset about that?
All right. Mike, do you want to say anything?
I do. To pull it back to the incident in question. In Europe, we often criticize Americans for not having more trains and buses. We know you like your cars, but we're like, maybe you wouldn't have to drive them all the time if you had other options. Climate change or no climate change, maybe you all would benefit from a more developed public transit system. But the penny is starting to drop now, especially now that here in Europe, we too are experiencing the results of having to share these confined public spaces with people who have been trained and encouraged to kill us. And not just kill us with guns, but kill us with anything that can be purchased from a gas station or at your local Walmart. The automatic knee-jerk reaction is, of course, to ban the sale of anything that can be used to kill someone. We're not allowed guns here in Europe, or at least in the UK. And we're on the verge of banning kitchen knives that have sharpened tips. And woe betide what happens when anyone gets burned alive with petroleum in this neck of the woods. We'll no longer be allowed to pump our own gas. I know that's an American stereotype, but I believe New Jersey is the only state left where you can't do that. That sort of region anyway, in other words. Be grateful, Americans, that as reactionary as your government appears to be, they don't attempt to solve every problem by punishing law-abiding citizens. Maybe they will eventually figure out the elusive solution to this Rubik's Cube. Maybe you should punish the criminals. 72. 70 motherfucking 2 arrests, and the motherfucker was still walking free. Is anyone at the Guinness Book of Records writing this shit down? Because there should be an entry for this kind of shit. I recall there being this 3 strikes and you're out rule. It's one of these dubious factoids we keep hearing about the American justice system.
And well, it's in one state,
arbitrarily
2 or 3.
Punitively authoritarian. According to the propaganda, if you commit 3 crimes in America, no matter what those crimes are, you get prison without parole. Well, pardon my swollen pancreas, but that doesn't appear to be the case. I'm sure it's true that the USA imprisons more of its population than any other country except El Salvador, a very recent change. But one has to wonder what the fuck all those Americans did wrong when pardon me, that was close. When a brother can commit 72 crimes and still not go to jail until he sets a bitch on fire in full view of a CCTV camera. Meanwhile, Derek Chauvin rots in prison fighting for his life every day because once he kneeled on the shoulder of a man dying from a fentanyl overdose. I'm thinking maybe we're being lied to. I'm thinking the problem you have in the States is the same problem we have in Europe, namely an implicit caste system where some demographics keep committing crimes because they keep getting away with those crimes, and some demographics can't say boo to a goose without getting the fucking book thrown at them. But look at the prison population. It's disproportionately non-white. Yes. That's what happens when you encourage and incentivize non-white people to commit crimes against white people. That's what happens when you convince non-whites that they are oppressed by whites. They act as though they're oppressed. They act as though they have every right to shoot and stab and burn alive the people who are oppressing them. If the justice system was actually blind and impartial like it's supposed to be, the ratio would be even more skewed. If you weren't imprisoning white teenagers for possessing a half-inch blim of hash, but you were imprisoning all the 50 IQ shadow beasts for 72 violent felonies, then the prison population would be even more skewed. It would have the same demographic makeup as all the fucking commercials. It would be black men and white women as far as the eye could see. Same in Europe. By the way, I'm not singling out America here. We have exactly the same problem over here. It has long since been decided that white people and men are the Untermensch. And yes, black men count as men and white women count as white. So a lot of them get caught in the crossfire, be it in the prisons or on the fucking trains. Y'all are going to get arrested and stabbed and set on fire as well. It's a small price to pay as long as every white man who returns a library book 2 seconds late gets thrown in solitary confinement for 6 months. You might ask what the solution to this problem might be. But what we're dealing with is a solution. A solution to a problem that never existed. A final solution, you might say. We're living under a regime that has declared its final solution, that the cause of all our problems is straight white Christian men. And this isn't just a conspiracy theory. They are telling us this. They've been telling us this at every opportunity since the Frankfurt School outlined it almost exactly a century ago. They are still telling us this. Who is they? Who do you mean by they? You! Dickhead. You! The fucking reply guy listening to me right now. Probably in the fucking special chat. As you conduct your gaslighting backhanded response to what I'm currently saying. You know what I'm saying. It's what you believe. You will admit it when it suits you, and you will deny it when it suits you. I will never get through to you, and I know that. You are not even conscious. Now, you are human. I won't rhetorically go as far as some of us would. I do believe you're human. But I will go so far as to say you're not conscious, dear reply guy in the special chat. Just like a computer infected with a virus is no longer subject to its factory settings, you are no longer beholden to yours. So I'm no longer interested in arguing with you. You are a lost cause, and I am only interested in defeating you. And when you are defeated, when you are cold and naked and starving, I will not be there. By the creed and the color and the name won't matter. I won't be there. I will give you as much sympathy as you gave Charlie Kirk as he lay dying in full view of his grieving family. Make of that what you will, and what you do, and what world you have made for yourself. I look forward to it in this life or the next. Dr. fucking Random Account, Mounted fucking News, Honey fucking Badger fucking Radio.
Yeah, the bit about the number of arrests, I hate to say this, but in the United States, the highest number of arrests attributed to a single individual, meaning this individual was arrested that many times, 1,500, over 1,500. One guy, mostly for things like being drunk in public and stuff like that. And another issue here in the U.S. is approximately 60% of all criminal offenses leading to arrest and incarceration here have some sort of relation to alcohol or illicit drugs as a causative factor. Either the individual was high, was brain damaged from overuse of a substance, or they were drunk, or they were seeking ways to get a substance they are not legally allowed to have. And then, of course, there's also the crimes committed in the course of selling illegal substances, where the individuals create a territory to defend and shit like that. A significant amount of crime in the U.S. Could be eliminated if we could get the drug problem here under control. And also a significant amount could be eliminated if we decriminalized drug use and drug sales and just started targeting the problem as a mental health problem instead of a criminal issue. Either way, you would stop arresting people for having drugs, stop arresting people for seeking drugs. And if somebody commits a crime because they're too stupid to not commit a crime when they're high or drunk, you address the addiction, and that will, as long as the individual successfully overcomes the addiction, that will eliminate the criminal behavior. A huge amount of criminal behavior revolves around those two substances, sets of substances, different types of alcohol and different types of drugs. And it would have to be, addiction is it is a mental health problem, but it would have to be treated differently than a lot of other mental health problems, because a lot of mental health problems, they're genetic and the cures are not necessarily behavioral. There are mental health problems where the cure is behavioral, like contracting with obsessive compulsive disorder, for instance. And the disorder doesn't go away, just like addiction doesn't go away. But the individual develops the tools they need to fight the addiction. And it's rather important that we switch to this method of dealing with these issues if we ever want to reduce the size of the prison population, reduce recidivism, and reduce the likelihood that there are going to be people running around in public committing horrible crimes like this. It's not that a for-profit model is bad. It's that a profit from return customers model is bad in the prison system. And there needs to be some other way to reward dealing with these issues, like profit from, a greater reward or whatever, profit from preventing recidivism, from preventing the individual from being arrested again and again and harming other people and stealing from other people and so on. You could almost guarantee this individual probably at some point started out trying something stupid to impress friends or to get drugs, or while he was using drugs, at some point has probably been in a gang, at some point has probably been exploited by somebody smarter than him to commit crimes for them, and at some point has been abused for trying to change. And it just I feel for this family, and I feel for the girl that this happened to. This happens, maybe not this blatant, all over the country. Every big city has repeat offenders like this that get let loose. And nothing is changing. Like, we've been talking about this, not just we at Honey Badger Radio, but we as a country have been talking about this for as long, probably longer, much longer, than I've been paying attention to politics. So, since I started at the age of 13 in 1985, we're talking, I've been hearing it for 40 years. Things need to change, things need to change. And nobody's doing it. It's not changing. So it's very discouraging.
Well, if we're talking about Reed, he was failed like a long time ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, like the there's so much we can get into, like the welfare state and all these other things. And we have done that a lot on this channel. But like trying
never
to
should have been allowed to get this far, but the last time he got in front of a judge, he shouldn't have been let off because
that's what I'm saying. It was this so they create the conditions for these people to exist, and they're suffering, for a number of reasons, addiction or whatever, and their life is violent. Their life knows nothing but anger and pain and disorder, and they bring that to other people, and these people facilitate it by letting them out of prison every time, or not even convicting them because of like soft on crime stuff. It's like they create the problem with the welfare state, and then they don't even offer a solution. They offer a placebo, which is, oh, you get to feel good about caring about the downtrodden, but you're making them downtrodden and bitter and damaged and broken and abused. And then they go on to do that to other people, and you don't actually have any solutions except like blaming the system, blaming men, blaming patriarchy, blaming capitalism, blaming the West, blaming white people, whatever it is. You don't solve any problems because they don't have any intention of it. And other people, innocent people, get hurt in the crossfire of this stuff, not just the guy himself. And I said this when we covered the George Floyd thing, when the body cam footage came out and it was on Daily Mail. This was shortly after the incident, and I insisted that Allison and I cover it, and because I knew it was going to create problems, and it didn't. It basically never went away. Like, we're still dealing with the backlash and the outcome, which I said we were going to. I said that there are parts of Chicago that have not recovered since the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. There were like riots that happened, and there are parts of that city that have never recovered from that. And I said, this is going to be even worse, even though this guy is a nobody, right? And it was even worse. I had to leave the city. I had to basically, I lost friends because they all bought into the bullshit, and I can't talk to my family about it.
Too. He had a rap sheet, right? When he did what he did, that got the police's attention in the first place, trying to pass off a counterfeit bill. That was years after his original first, like, his criminal history was it started in the 90s. And there were drugs involved in it.
The whole
like, that's a perfect example of a guy who never should have been allowed to get to that point.
Yeah, but and that's what I was saying about Floyd and about so many others.
The last time he was in front of a judge before that incident, he should have had the book thrown at him.
Yeah, he should have been in jail. And
the
this
first
woman,
time he was in front of a judge, he should have been treated in a very different manner. He should have had somebody trying to change the way he thinks so that he does not have that rap sheet that goes all the way back to 1997, which is what he had. And this is the same thing. This girl, obviously the guy is at fault for what he did, but this girl her whole life is going to change if she survives, which there's a significant chance that she won't. The higher percentage of your body that's covered in burns, the less chance you have of surviving. Your skin is it's a vital organ. It is the biggest organ in your body. And when it is damaged, if you cannot regrow it properly, even with scar tissue, you suffer a whole bunch of other maladies, including serious infections. And a lot of burn patients die from sepsis because of that. That what happened to her, the guy that did this to her never should have been in this situation in the first place. And the fact that he was, you have two sets of people with agendas that are butting heads. One of them is the let everybody go set of people, and the other one is you can punish it out of them without trying anything else. And neither one of them is right. But they're not going to change. This is not going to change until regular people start standing up and saying we need real reform, not this bullshit. Like, our prison system's been reformed in quotes over and over and over again. This is the result. They need to do something different.
Yes. Anyway, last thing I'll say about this is, interestingly, Mike brought up Derek Chauvin, who is like, there was an attempt made on his life. Well, we don't know if he's going to get out of prison alive. And if it was that incident that led to this incident, because the Soft on Crime, the Safety Act was put into place in 2021, and it was finalized in 2023. So shortly after the incident involving Floyd and Chauvin, they changed policy and law, and they basically created a system that lets potentially violent criminals free, and allows them second, third, fourth, fifth, 17 chances, whatever, because he was arrested 72 times but convicted like 17 times or something like that. And then it also creates the conditions for people like this young lady to do this virtue signaling, thinking that she's right, and then putting herself in this position. So it's just like, this is what lies do. And I'm going to like beat the drum on this. And like I said, I know this is a men's rights channel. And what I all basically already made it clear that the thing about the men's issues is they start, when the child is born. And if we can't intervene before that, and then there is like negative consequences, like that child turns to crime, well, that's not, like, that's the product of a system that does not acknowledge the humanity of men. And so we're looking at the outcomes of that, and I'm using this as an opportunity to point that out as well, so that I'm not taking any pleasure in this. It's ironic in a sad way, because it's, well, I don't know what to say about that. It's just something that should never have happened. But she supported the people who put the policies in place that put her in this position. And I don't know if she's going to put those put that stuff together.
Women do this all the time, right? These people mean well. You should know. And at the same time, you have another set of women. So women like her will say, "Let everybody go. All they did was XYZ," where XYZ isn't just smoke a joint; it's shoplifted Rogaine, or some other like expensive item as part of a shoplifting gang. All they did was steal the neighbor's dog because it was a rare breed and sell it on the black market. All they did was carjack somebody, and it'll escalate like that to the point where people are genuinely being directly victimized by an individual. And you hear, well, all they did was, is it really that bad that they lifted your wallet? Is it really that bad that they stole your ID? Is it really bad? And it's because they want to have that soft heart. And then at the other end of it, you have sometimes the same women, by the way, demanding misogyny laws. Oh, don't let a man say bitch. If he says bitch, you should arrest him. Don't let a man whistle in public. He might be whistling at a girl. You better arrest him for that too. So they're demanding that the state arrest men who really haven't done anything to be afraid of, but let the men go that have. And they're demanding that the state treat men like threats all the time. not potential threats, men who have the capacity to be dangerous if they so choose, but men who at some point are going to choose to be dangerous. They'll make statements about choosing the bear because, you know the bear's not going to rape you. No, you don't. By the way, there's you don't know. They had a wrestling bear that went to different bars, and you could wrestle it when I was in high school and college.
Stars, all it does is rape you. I
Well,
mean,
it'll eat you. It'll eat you, but you know that the bear will eat you. But the thing is, they had male and female people could come in and wrestle, right? You had to be partnered up with another gal if you wanted to wrestle the bear. You couldn't be on your period. And there were bunches of gals that were like, and in the bars going, how dare you ask if we're on our periods? Do you understand if it smells that it's either going to get violent and think it's blood and try to eat you, or it's going to behave in an entirely inappropriate manner for an animal to behave toward a human? Women get upset before they ever consider what it is they're being asked to disclose. Why are you being asked to disclose this? Maybe it's because somebody's trying to protect you, right? And women will go for causes like this because they think the first layer, but they don't dig underneath that first layer and think to the second layer and the third layer and the fourth layer of, if you don't address the underlying causes of these behaviors, they will continue forever. If you don't do something to help this person change the way he thinks, he'll never change the way he behaves. So if you're letting him go every time he does something bad, he's going to do worse and worse things until you can't let him go because he's killed someone. And she just happened to be the victim of one of those guys. And at the other end of it, women also don't think through, if you think everything is scary, regardless of whether it's violent or just insulting, if you think that the state has to protect you from every little thing, you lose all of your rights too. And eventually, the whole thing will explode into violence as people resist what you've created. Mm-hmm. And we're sort of in the middle of both right now. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, to some degree, like, I have no sympathy for the older women who've been on board with the feminist bullshit since long before it was imposed on them. But we're a few generations into it now, and this chick, she was born into this nonsense, and she had.
I do feel sorry for her.
She had more than a 50% chance of just being brainwashed into it in the first place, and it's like an animal being led into the Colosseum to be shot through the heart by the fucking emperor, and that's basically what happened. And I'm like, to some degree, I'm like, I wish someone would have intervened and told her, you know, you're being lied to, but the chances were pretty fucking slim that would happen. And, you know, the chances were pretty great that someone like her would have been the kind of person who would have been burned alive by some brother. It's just a matter of statistics. And as much as I'm like, as much as I blame women for voting all of this shit in, like, a chick as young as her didn't vote shit into. I mean, she was barely old enough to have voted for any of this. And like, as much as I'm like, women, this is your fault. Like, it's not Hannah's fault. It's not Alison or Karen or Lauren's fault. Like, it's just like there are plenty of female athletes who never wanted to,
to be competing in with men, to
have been dominated and beaten the shit out of by these male athletes. Like, but we're in a hell of a tightrope trying to blame women as a whole without blaming the few unicorns that didn't fucking want this. And all things considered, let's try and consider all things. You know what I mean?
I agree. All right, I got to move on to the next story, but I got some super chats to read out. So let us know what you guys think about this one in the comments. Cyberzerk says for 200 kronas, I think. A German science criminologist, is that the word, said pyromaniacs and exhibitionists are much more dangerous than usually expected. They need a stronger adrenaline kick every time. That's interesting. And then he gives another 200 kronas and says a female pyromaniac killed 2 women in a parking lot in Zurich, Switzerland, over the period of a couple of years. Profilers were, of course, looking for a male perpetrator. Yeah, that's par for the course.
With maniacs, there's probably a dopamine connection, right? It's a similar thing that occurs with addiction. There's often a dopamine connection. And if you have an addiction to something that you are doing to essentially get dopamine hits from your own body's production of dopamine, you do need a bigger hit every time, basically because you start to build up a tolerance to it. That's one of the reasons why drugs that cause you to overproduce dopamine are so addictive. And they interfere with your body's ability also to produce and detect and use dopamine. And as a result, you end up being, twitchy or otherwise looking like you are fidgety, can't stop moving and stuff like that. You get essentially a whole set of behaviors that revolve around the dysfunction caused by your dopamine imbalance, and it never goes back to normal. Now, there's a significant difference between I'm looking at the chat. Mangaka, you're wrong. In terms of addiction versus normal behavior, you do get dopamine hits, and you do treat it like something that you have to have more and more of every time. And in terms of normal behavior, where it motivates you to do good things like cleaning your room or whatever, things that you take satisfaction with, there is a significant difference. And it isn't just something that happens with drugs. Drugs do have a higher damage rate than other forms of addiction, but it's not something that you can discount. I guess that would be the way to put it.
All right.
So yeah, what this individual, what he basically said about the these pyromaniacs and such is true, but it's not the only addiction that happens with. In terms of the women, and they were looking for men. In terms of the women committing the crime, and they were looking for men that did it. That's where stereotyping turns out to be wrong. Most of the time, when a crime like that's committed, and there's destruction, and somebody gets caught, it's a guy. But that doesn't mean that you should never listen to the description and look for a woman.
Yeah. All right, well, I got to move on. So I'm going to move on to the next story because this is a long sausage. So we got one more left. Let us know what you guys think about this in the comments. All right. So we have another passing. And, okay, so, I love movies. And this is, guys, one of those character actors that you see him around, but he's not like a big guy, but I'm a big fan of Udo Kier. So Udo Kier, the prolific German actor renowned for his roles in over 200 films spanning cult classics and art house cinema, died on Sunday, November 23rd at age 81 in Palm Springs, California. As confirmed by his partner, artist Delbert McBride. Byrne Born Udo Kierspe in Cologne amid World War II bombings, Kier discovered his passion for acting after moving to London at 18 and encountering director Rainer Werner Fassbinder. In a 2024 Variety interview, he quipped, "I liked the attention, so I became an actor." His early breakthrough came in Andy Warhol-produced horror comedies, playing the ineptly monstrous counts in Paul Morrissey's 1973 Flesh for Frankenstein and 1974 Blood for Dracula. Kier's career flourished through extensive collaborations, including Fassbinder's The Station Master's Wife, Lil Marlene, and The Third Generation. Gus Van Sant's 1991 My Own Private Idaho with River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves, which secured his U.S. foothold, and Lars von Trier's Ouvre from Europa 1991 to Nymphomaniac Volume 2 2013, alongside mainstream turns in Armageddon, Blade, and Ace Ventura Pet Detective. This is what a lot of people know him from. I never saw Ace Ventura Pet Detective, but I've seen him in a bunch of other stuff. He also appeared in Madonna's Sex Book and videos like Erotica. Kier's recent work included a starring role in Kleber Mendonca's Philho's The Secret Agent 2025, which von Wagner Mora's which won him a Best Actor at Cannes. Settling in Los Angeles and Palm Springs, where he lived in a converted mid-century library, he became a festival staple, particularly at Palm Springs International Film Festival. Tributes poured in, with Von Trier calling him a great artist and a dear friend, and Van Sant remembering his unique presence that elevated every scene. Kier's death marks the loss of a versatile icon whose deadpan menace and wry charm defined generations of boundary-pushing cinema. He was also in Command & Conquer, a video game. I never played it, but he played one of the characters on that as well. So he's kind of all over the place. So anyway, yeah, he was in Armageddon and A Daze. I often quote his character in Blade. And yeah, I mean, just a little story to end on. I like Udo Kier. I was always a big fan. He's right up there with Jürgen Prochnow. Do you guys know Jürgen Prochnow? He was in he was in the Mouth of Madness and Das Boot. That's the thing he's mostly known for. So anyway, anybody want to say anything about? Do you guys know him from any movies?
I guess you want some quotes?
Yes,
I was going to say, I feel like I've seen him in everything.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He's one of those you've seen him in
the
stuff.
The first person I thought of when you said the length of his career was John Wayne. He's like, he's been in everything. He's done every kind of everything.
He usually plays vampires and creepy dudes. Yeah. That's like usually.
But I mean, yeah. Usually he's the bad guy. He's a villain, or he's a vampire, creepy dude. But it just seems like one of the most familiar faces out there.
Yeah. Anyway, so go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, like I said, I can give you some quotes if you got the time. Quote, "The villain is the character that people remember," end quote. True. Not just in movies, but in real life. Well, more so in real life than in movies. The most famous person in any war is the bugger who started it. Food for thought. Quote, "I tried all my life to be a normal person," end quote. Well, maybe you should have been a villain, eh, Udo? Or, quote, "When I'm depressed and the weather is bad, I look up my page on IMDb and I have my coffee and feel better. There are even films on there I don't know about," end quote.
Of course.
Same here. I occasionally go to my entry on IMDb to see if anyone's added anything, and I beam with pride that they have not. Quote, "I have few friends. I can count them on one hand. I go by myself to the cleaners and the supermarket, and I live alone with my dogs." That's him talking, not me, by the way. and yeah, based. But I guess I would say that. Quote, "Normally I like my privacy in the high desert." All right. Well, extra based. You've outdone me, Mr. Kier. The hermit powers are strong with this one. Quote, "There's actors and actresses who I call trailer stars. because their importance is expressed by how big their trailers are. And then there are real actors who are real good people. End quote. True facts, sir. That's the difference between an actor and a star. Actors can transform into other people. Stars just turn up as themselves and read the lines and try not to trip over the furniture. Speaking of which, quote, audition is the worst thing. It's like cleaning furniture in a department store, end quote. I don't quite know what he means by that, probably because I don't do auditions. The whole process seems soul destroying to me, so I'll take his word for it that it's soul destroying in the same way as cleaning furniture is in a department store. Quote, I like to work with directors who write their own stories. End quote. Same. Moreover, yes. I prefer it when that writer-director is me. Quote, my agent is a vampire. My lawyer is a vampire. They're all vampires. But they don't suck your blood. They take your money. Vampires are everywhere. It just depends what they're running after. Lol. Facts? Your boy is painting quite the picture of why acting is not the glamorous bed of roses is made out to be. Don't do it, kids. Write your own material and get to work. We don't need these fucking vampires anymore. Quote, I don't wear gloves when I work in the garden. End quote. I don't know the context of that quote. I mean, he was gardening was one of his hobbies. He was a very avid gardener. So I like to think that that's a metaphor for something, but not knowing what that something is, I would also like to think that he's literally talking about gardening. Therein is the essence of a profound quote, ladies and gentlemen. When it works every each way. I didn't know anything about this chap, to be honest. Couldn't have put his name to his face until he died just now. But I always enjoy looking into people's quotes because it's nice to see how much you have in common with those who are considered great men. It's also interesting to see how much you don't have in common, and maybe even to make fun of them for some of the sillier quotes they made. But it's not cricket to be making fun of the dead. At least not quite as soon as that, so I'll save it for another day. Rip, Udo Kier.
Yes, Rip Udo Kier, German.
You seem reasonably based. Good luck to you in the afterlife.
All right, so that was a long show, but it's okay. We're gonna do the patron show now. Oh shit, where is my article? We're gonna look at. I gotta get ready here. Somehow I closed that window on accident. But we are going to be going to the patron show to find out how Bill Ackman is going to save dating. So this is from Business Insider, and apparently it caused memes. Bill Ackman's proposed a straightforward line for young men to meet women, and the memes erupted. What could it be? We're going to find out. So if you want to join us for that, go to feedthebadger.com/subscribe to join us. $5 a month will get you into Discord where you'll be able to watch all the additional content. And if you give it higher levels, you'll even be able to participate in the conversations themselves. And trust me, we do have people who do that. And they're like regulars. We welcome them. It's a good time. Everyone gets to be heard, and I get a break from talking. So thanks, guys, for that. Hopefully I'll see you all in the patron show. But with that said, I want to thank Mike and Hannah for joining me on the show, and I want to thank you guys most of all for watching. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, and let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of HBR News, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. See you next Tuesday.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.